So in a recent lesson, I was getting a lot of this stuff wrong, and so I went back and reviewed may and mayroon stuff first thing Monday morning. I'm trying to keep better tabs on things that I have issues with during a lesson that were from previous lessons to go back and be able to review them, because I think that's the perfect time of forgetting and then reminding your brain what you did before to be able to remember it even stronger next time. In my Spanish lessons, I'm having a lot of trouble with que, lo que, and which goes where, and what's more appropriate in what spot, and so I swear I did every single exercise on relative pronouns on the internet that I could find. It's still really challenging for me, but I'm hoping that every single time I do it, I'll get one less incorrect, and so I can slowly work towards understanding each individual circumstance and each individual rule a little bit more fully. If you have any tricks or anything that helped you learn this, definitely put it in the comments below, because I'm still not at 100% understanding. I know I'll get there, but if you have a little trick to help me along the way, I'd love to hear it. So Memrise already has all the vocabulary with audio and spelling and everything for the textbook that I'm using, so I saved a lot of time by not having to put them in myself. So I did about 20 minutes of Memrise for Armenian. I'm still at the beginning stages where I'm learning a lot of phrases like hello and have a nice day and things like that, and so I feel a little bit more comfortable using flashcards for that because they are full, complete ideas. They just happen to be at the beginner level. One of the things I wish I did more with Spanish was to review as I went along before I went to the next concept. And so even though I've already learned all these things and I feel like I have an okay grasp of them, I wanted to really make sure that I hammered in all of the information from chapters 1 through 5 before moving on, which is why you might think some of these concepts are a little bit easier, but I really want to make sure that I know them 100% before moving on, because for me, it's so hard to go back to the beginning and force yourself to relearn such simple concepts when you really want to move ahead and learn all the exciting things. So I'm hoping that by slowing down now, it'll be even better when I move ahead to really exciting and complex ideas. So then Tuesday morning, I did my same Tagalog review where I'm writing out sentences for to be, maging verbs. And so you can see all of these are complete sentences, and what I'll do is whenever I don't really know a word, because Taglish is a thing, I'll write it in English and then later go back and say, okay, this is what the word is in Tagalog. And anytime I get a sentence right that I was like, I wasn't sure if I was going to get that, I celebrate it. I write, yes, good job, yay. And I've actually found that this is like a really good way to hammer in things that you almost got incorrect, if that makes sense, and really reward yourself in a way. Like, there's nothing saying that you can't write yes to yourself all the time in your homework, so I kind of like doing this. So comparisons is another thing that I realized in my lessons that I had kind of forgotten a little bit, and so I went back and reviewed all of them really in detail. And so although I do have this on StudyLib, I went through and broke it up into sections. So this is, she is as pretty as Ellen, and things like she's equally as pretty as Ellen. And so I really broke it down and practiced doing all of these sentences again and made sure that I really understood them, because I am getting to a little bit more complex things in Tagalog, and I really want to make sure that all of these basics are really hammered in really, really well. For whole sentences that I really didn't know what was happening, I'll highlight the whole thing, and then any words that I really didn't know, I'll circle in pink, and then here I started to color code a little bit. So with the blue, I highlighted words that were almost on the tip of my tongue, and I did end up getting right, but I did not recall as quickly as I wanted to. So I wanted to make sure I paid attention to both pink and blue things, and so I got a little color coding going on. And again, I am pointing out all of the, yes, good job, you almost didn't get that right, but hey, you actually did. So I feel like it really reinforces your thought process of, okay, yes, that was right. I want to make sure that I'm telling my brain, like, you actually figured it out, you did it, remember that, it is correct. And I also have comparisons on StudyLib, so I did it a little bit on StudyLib as well. And then of course some drops for Tagalog. And then I realized I had a Spanish lesson tomorrow, and so I reviewed everything that I went over in my last lesson, and you can kind of see some of these are not in full sentences, so this is definitely a reminder to myself that I have to be putting things in full sentences. And then I did all the exercises online that he assigned me as well. So then on Thursday, I had my hour-long lesson with my Spanish teacher, and he's from Argentina, and so it's kind of fun to play with the sh accent a little bit, because I think the Chilean and Argentinian accents are so fun. And for a while, I was so intimidated by taking lessons from those teachers because I thought the accent was going to be so different, but then I was like, well, if I think it's fun, let's do it. And the teacher is great, and I think the accent thing really isn't that big of a deal because I'm at the point in Spanish where I can differentiate the accent and where he is adding his little Argentinian shushes and little flares and stuff. So it's actually been really fun to try that out. So in some lessons, I've worked through some exercises on totoclara.com, and my teachers have also sent me some exercises to do at home. And so on Thursday night, I was like, hey, let's poke around and see what else it has to offer. And so because I had published a video that week, I felt like I had so much free time. And so I swear I sat there for like an hour and a half just seeing what exercises they had, seeing what I knew, seeing what I needed to review. And it was kind of fun. It was almost like a relaxing sort of, this is so luxurious and enjoyable to do. So I definitely recommend the website, and I think it's great. And I think there are lots of different kinds of activities on there. And so I think I'm going to continue to poke around a little bit more on this website because I've really been liking it. So Fridays have actually become my favorite day to take lessons. So in the morning, I'll take a Tagalog lesson, and then in the evening, I'll take a Spanish conversational lesson. And I love having Spanish conversational lessons on Friday nights because there's no homework and you just get to practice basically what you've been learning. And then I feel really productive going into the weekend. Like, hey, I have done so much on Friday, you get to relax on the weekend. And it's not to say you need to deserve your relaxing time, but for me, I've found that I relax a lot better when I have done something really productive the day before. So I've been absolutely loving doing 2 lessons on Friday, which I know is kind of crazy, but it really sets me up to have a nice, relaxed, calm weekend, for me at least. So then on Saturday, I read 2 chapters of The Graded Reader that I'm reading. Now, as of editing, I've finished the book, and it was kind of stressful, like the actual topic of it, so I don't know if I would recommend it any longer, but I think to actually learn Spanish, I think it's absolutely fantastic, so definitely make that choice for yourself. But what I'll do is I'll read it without taking any interruptions, but I definitely do highlight the things that I'm not 100% sure about that I want to go back to. But I want to make sure that I'm concentrating on just being fluid and just reading it to finish it and get through it and get the main points. And so you can see the highlighting here are things that I'll just highlight really quickly and I won't look them up while I'm reading. And then I'll go back after each chapter and see what I missed and what I need to look up. There's also a vocabulary list at the end of every chapter, which is really fun, and it's kind of interesting to see that I actually know a lot of things that are at the end of the chapter in the vocabulary, but then there are a lot of things during the actual chapter that I don't know, and so I think it just goes to show you that everyone learns different things at a different pace, so comparing yourself to others really isn't a fair shot for either of you guys. Everyone's learning at their own pace. And then I watched a 45-minute documentary in Spanish on the situation in Afghanistan. And I think DW Documental is really great for that because all of their stuff is actually quite current. And so I got to learn about what's happening in the world, but also do it through Spanish. And so I love their documentaries, and I think it's a great way to combine those 2 things, practicing your target language and figuring out what's happening in the world. And then because this week apparently was all about review for Tagalog, I went back through and did lessons 1 through 3 in StudyLib for Tagalog. And then some Iolingo for Armenian. And then right back at StudyLib to do lessons 3 through 7 for a Tagalog review. Even if you're someone that doesn't think that you need to review that often, I think there's a huge benefit to even going back to the beginning lessons and seeing how far you've come. I was so amazed by how much I've learned and how easy some of these things were for me. And then, you start to get up to lesson 8 and 9, it starts to get difficult again. But I also loved seeing how quickly I was able to get through the beginning lessons because I've learned so much. And seeing that growth alone is really cool and definitely worth reviewing for. And then back to memorize for Armenian. You can see how slowly it is for me to type, and some people might find this really annoying because the keyboard is another thing you have to learn for a different script, but for me it slows me down. And for me, I definitely tend to speed through things, and so slowing me down and making me actually look for each letter honestly is not that bad of a gig right now. Eventually it's going to be really annoying, but hopefully once it's annoying, I'll also have figured out the keyboard system, so those will kind of work themselves out very well. You can see I have the little keyboard viewer up on the side, but sometimes it's just faster to press on memorize what it is, and even slow. I'm reviewing and I'm learning, and so it's totally fine if it's a little bit slow. And then I read some more of this B1 book, Fantasmas del Pasado. I think these books are great for repeating really similar grammatical structures and vocabulary throughout the book without you really noticing it. But I will say for this specific book, it kind of made the main character a little obsessive. But I think it was mostly because the language is repeating. And so when he had a thought and he was repeating it, I was like, oh my God, this kid cannot leave it alone. But I was also like, hey, this is teaching me really well how to say this certain thing in Spanish. So I'll let it slide. The jury's still out if this protagonist was really obnoxious or if it was just to help me learn Spanish. But either way, as of editing it, I finished it. And so definitely helped me learn Spanish, but I don't know if I'd read it again. So this is how long I spent on each language throughout the week, and honestly, tallying it up, I was kind of surprised, because some weeks definitely do not look like this, but others do. And so definitely don't compare yourself to whatever other numbers are out there, but I thought this was really interesting to put up as well, as this is realistically what I'm doing and how long I'm spending on each language. So we'll see how much this changes in the future as my motivations change and how much I need to spend on each language might change to reach my goals. But let me know anything else you want to see on this channel, and thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.